Chosen one, you were led here by divine design. This moment is not a coincidence. It is an appointment written in the scroll of your destiny. Heaven has drawn you into this space because a word must be delivered to your spirit, a revelation that will awaken your authority and dismantle every false control that has limited your movement. You have felt the invisible weight of systems pressing against your spirit, trying to silence your voice and contain your light. But the Spirit of the living God says, you were never meant to live under government control. You were designed to govern with heaven. Every event that brought you to this point, every disappointment, every silence, every waiting season, was an orchestration of divine timing. For now, the decree has been released. Heaven is reclaiming dominion through those who belong to Him. You are not just surviving under broken systems, you are being positioned to rule over them. This is the message. God is dismantling systems of control. What the world calls instability is, in truth, divine reconstruction. Every power structure that has operated without submission to God's Spirit is now collapsing under its own corruption. You are living in the era of exposure, when darkness can no longer hide behind laws, markets, or ideologies. Heaven is not intimidated by governments. Heaven governs governments. The empires of fear and manipulation have reached their expiration date. Chosen one, the reason you have felt detached from worldly agendas is because your spirit was never programmed to serve them. You carry the frequency of divine governance, and that is why control cannot contain you. Stay alert. This revelation carries the next divine instruction for your life. What you hear now will redefine how you see power, leadership, and destiny itself. Before we continue, perform a prophetic act of agreement. Declare in the comments, I rise under divine government. When you write it, heaven records your agreement. This is not a ritual. It is alignment. As you declare it, light enters your atmosphere and begins to reorder what was bound by fear and confusion. And while you are here, like this message and subscribe to this channel, not as routine, but as a prophetic act of alignment with divine truth. Every time you engage with a revelation from heaven, you give it authority to work in your life. Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to hear will open your eyes to why God is restoring your authority, and why you were never meant to live under the control of man-made systems. Before we go deeper, I want you to understand something sacred. Divine wisdom always provides divine tools. The manual of God's chosen warrior is not just a book. It is a blueprint for living in prosperity under heaven's government. It's a clear 10-step guide to living in divine prosperity, even in your finances. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. You can check it out later, or click now if you're ready to go deeper. Chosen one, the Spirit of God is unveiling the origin of this word, a revelation that cuts through illusion and reveals what has long been hidden. Every empire built on fear was never political first, but spiritual. The control of men over men began when humanity disconnected from the source of divine authority. Systems rose to replace what only the Spirit could govern. The world became a network of substitutes, governments that promised safety while stealing sovereignty, institutions that offered order while draining spiritual identity. You have always sensed it. The unease you feel when others call corruption order is not rebellion. It is discernment. Your spirit remembers the original design, a world governed by righteousness, not regulation. That design is being restored, and you are one of its instruments. The systems of control that dominate this age are collapsing not because men have grown wiser, but because heaven has withdrawn permission. The towers of human pride are crumbling under the weight of their own deceit. You have seen it: confusion among leaders, division among nations, and chaos in institutions once seen as unshakable. But this chaos is not judgment against the earth. It is surgery. God is removing the infection of control so that the body of humanity can breathe again. You, chosen one, are part of this restoration. Your voice, your presence, your obedience to divine direction, these are instruments through which heaven reclaims authority on earth. Many feel the shift, but cannot name it. They sense that nothing works as before, that politics, economics, and ideologies are losing their grip. But for you, this is not confusion. It is confirmation. The shaking you see outside mirrors the awakening inside you. God is awakening His rulers, men and women who have no desire to dominate, only to realign. The Spirit says, "You were never created to be managed by systems. You were sent to manifest my order within them." The collision you feel between your spirit and the world's control is evidence of your calling, not your failure. Throughout history, God has always raised reformers from within corrupted empires. Think of Joseph in Egypt, elevated not by compromise but by divine strategy. Think of Daniel in Babylon, governing with excellence while never surrendering his allegiance to heaven. These were not rebels. They were reformers carrying heaven's code into human institutions. Chosen one, you walk in that lineage. Your obedience is the modern language of dominion. When you follow divine instruction, you legislate light in places still ruled by shadows. The Spirit does not send you to escape the system, but to redeem it from within. Understand this: collapse always precedes coronation. Every era of divine transition begins with shaking. The famine came before Joseph ruled. Saul's fall came before David's rise. Babylon's confusion came before Daniel's influence. What you are witnessing in this world, political instability, moral confusion, global exhaustion, is the prelude to divine positioning. Heaven does not fear the fall of systems. Heaven uses it as a doorway. God is dismantling what cannot stand under His light, so that His chosen rulers can rebuild with justice and wisdom. The mistake many make is interpreting the fall of systems as punishment. But the Spirit says, this is not wrath, this is release. God is releasing His people from invisible chains, chains of dependence, fear, and conformity. You have been trained to seek permission from those who have no authority over your destiny. That cycle ends now. The pressure, the rejection, the misunderstanding, all were tools of heaven to wean you from false approval. Every time you lost favor in human structures, you gained authority in the kingdom. This is why your journey has felt both painful and prophetic. Look closely, chosen one. The control you once feared was never physical. It was psychological, emotional, and spiritual. It worked through narratives, through fear of scarcity, through addiction to validation. These are the unseen prisons of the modern age. Yet you are awakening from them. God is not just freeing you from systems outside, He is breaking the need for them inside you. Authority begins where dependency ends. The Spirit of God is teaching you to live from the inside out, ruled by revelation, not regulation. This is how true rulers are born. The Spirit is now revealing something deeper. Chosen one. Control has never been about chains or walls. It has always been about attention. Whoever governs your focus governs your future. That is why the systems of this world are built to distract, divide, and exhaust. They promise freedom while producing dependence. They occupy the mind so the spirit cannot speak. Yet, the chosen cannot be bound by noise. You were designed to discern beyond appearance. God has hidden wisdom in your perception. That is why what confuses others feels clear to you. When the Spirit whispers, "Look again," it is because He is unveiling truth beneath illusion. Every law of manipulation, every agenda of fear, every narrative of scarcity, these are spiritual weapons, not political policies. And heaven is dismantling them through awareness. Your awakening is divine warfare. When you feel restless inside a world obsessed with control, it is not rebellion. It is recognition. Your spirit knows that earthly authority was never meant to replace divine instruction. From the beginning, government existed to serve heaven's will on earth. But when men sought to rule without God, government became a mechanism of control instead of a mirror of divine order. This is why prophets are misunderstood. They confront control by restoring conscience. And you, chosen one, carry that same mantle. You are sent not just to speak truth, but to embody it in the very places that resist it most. In institutions, in leadership, in the invisible rooms of influence where fear once dictated decisions. The Spirit is sending you as an infiltrator of light, not an outsider of chaos. There is a hidden dynamic unfolding now, a quiet rebellion of righteousness. God is raising reformers who will govern from humility and spiritual clarity. These are not loud revolutionaries, they are strategic vessels. They understand systems, yet answer only to heaven. They speak language that both kings and servants can understand, because they operate from wisdom, not ideology. Chosen one, you are one of them. Heaven has been preparing you in silence, shaping your discernment in solitude. The frustration you felt with mediocrity was not arrogance, it was your divine nature resisting limitation. You are being refined for influence, prepared to stand where others bow, to decide where others fear. There is a sacred law the Spirit wants you to grasp. Reform begins in revelation. Before God changes systems, He changes perceptions. You cannot transform what you perceive through fear. That is why He first trains your mind to see through His eyes. What you interpret as delay is actually recalibration. He is rewiring your understanding so that when you enter the sphere of power, you will carry heaven's blueprint, not ambition's corruption. Joseph ruled Egypt with the mind of the kingdom. Daniel interpreted the dreams of kings because his perception was uncorrupted by reward. You too are being trusted with vision, not for self-glory, but for national purpose. Chosen one, the Spirit is removing every dependency that weakened your authority, every emotional attachment to validation, every fear of rejection, every illusion of lack. These were spiritual leashes disguised as human experiences. God has been quietly severing them one by one. That's why people walked away. That's why doors closed. It was not rejection, it was release. He had to extract you from environments that tolerated your gifting, but feared your authority. You were not meant to fit where your spirit was meant to govern. The separation was necessary so the restoration could begin. The Holy Spirit now speaks of a divine reversal. The same systems that once suppressed truth will soon sponsor it. The platforms that silenced righteousness will be reformed by voices of wisdom. The seats of power that once ignored justice will be filled by those who carry the fear of God. But this will not come by rebellion. It will come by revelation. The chosen are rising not as politicians first, but as prophets in disguise. They will bring policies born in prayer and laws aligned with kingdom principles. You are part of this silent invasion, a divine infiltration, not a human rebellion. Understand this well. The dismantling you see is not destruction. It is delivery. God is not tearing down governments because He hates order. He is restoring order that reflects His character. He is rebuilding systems that will serve humanity instead of enslaving it. The shaking you witness is heaven's architecture in progress. Every exposure of corruption is a step toward purification. Every downfall of arrogance is an open door for righteousness. Chosen one, you are not watching the end of the world. You are witnessing the beginning of divine governance on earth. Heaven is reestablishing its pattern. Through you, through your generation, through every awakened ruler under God's command. Chosen one, the signs are everywhere for those who can see. The world is shaking, governments in turmoil, currencies unstable, voices of confusion rising louder than reason. Yet beneath all this, there is a divine rhythm, a sound that only the awakened spirit can recognize. What appears as crisis to the world is recalibration to heaven. Every disruption you witness is an invitation to discernment. The systems that were built on deception are collapsing under their own weight, and the Spirit of God is rearranging the foundations of power. This is why you cannot find comfort in the old order. It no longer carries the breath of life. You are being prepared to stand when everything else falls, to speak when others are silenced, and to lead when human structures lose direction. The Spirit says, "Do not fear the noise of transition." What the world calls collapse, heaven calls cleansing. The exposure of corruption, the fall of once powerful names, the confusion among leaders, all of it serves a greater purpose. It is not chaos, it is consequence. Every kingdom built apart from righteousness must bow to divine order. And in this bowing, new leaders will rise, not by inheritance of bloodlines, but by alignment of spirit. You are one of those. You were hidden not because you were forgotten, but because you were preserved. God does not send untrained rulers into unstable realms. Every delay was discipline. Every hidden season was preparation for governance in a world that has lost direction. Chosen one, the world speaks of resets and reforms, but they misunderstand the real reset taking place. This is not an economic reset, nor merely a political restructuring. It is a spiritual reallocation of authority. Heaven is redistributing influence according to alignment, not ambition. Those who walk in the fear of the Lord are being entrusted with realms that greed once controlled. God is removing influence from hands that built without Him and placing it in hands purified by obedience. This is why you have been tested in silence, to ensure that your heart could hold authority without corruption. The Spirit is saying, "What I am giving you now is not position first, but permission. Permission to act, to speak, and to reform according to my Spirit." There is a holy discomfort resting on the world's rulers, a trembling they cannot explain. They sense power slipping, but they cannot trace where it goes. It is not vanishing, it is transferring. Authority is leaving institutions and entering individuals chosen by heaven. The prophets and reformers of this generation will not wear crowns of gold, but mantles of wisdom. Their influence will not be granted by elections, but by divine endorsement, and their presence will carry weight in rooms where truth has long been silent. You will see this unfold. Ordinary men and women, unnoticed by the world, suddenly carrying governmental authority in moments that shift nations. It will not be human strategy. It will be divine appointment. You may feel tension, chosen one, an invisible stretching between the spiritual and the political, between what is seen and what is coming. That tension is not confusion, it is birthing. The Spirit of God is pulling you out of old definitions of leadership. You are not called to repeat models. You are called to reveal blueprints. The shaking you feel in your personal life mirrors the shaking in the nations. Both are being emptied of what no longer aligns with heaven. You cannot carry old forms into new authority. The breaking is mercy, not punishment. God is ensuring that when you rise, you will not rebuild another empire of control, but a kingdom of righteousness and justice. Chosen one, heaven is speaking clearly now. I am relocating my people. This relocation is not geographical first, but spiritual. God is moving hearts into alignment, minds into clarity, and spirits into readiness. Where you once felt misplaced, you will find purpose. The places where you were rejected will soon call for your wisdom. This is divine repositioning. The tables are turning, and the unseen hand of God is rearranging influence. What is falling apart in the natural is falling into place in the spiritual. The Spirit whispers, "Stay steady, remain pure, and discern the movement. For I am establishing my rulers in the earth." Every great transition in history begins with disorder. But for those aligned with heaven, disorder becomes opportunity. The empires of men tremble, yet the kingdom within you stands unshaken. You are being equipped to lead through uncertainty, to discern truth when others drown in noise. The world has entered a time of divine testing, a separation between those who seek power and those who carry purpose. This is not the end, chosen one. It is your beginning. The collapse of control is the sound of heaven calling rulers home. The government of man is failing so that the government of God can rise through those who know His voice. Chosen one, the confrontation has begun. Not a battle of weapons, but of wills. Not of armies, but of allegiances. The war now unfolding is between control and calling, between fear and freedom. Every dark system that has sought to dictate the direction of humanity is trembling under the weight of divine exposure. You feel it in your spirit, that invisible clash between the unseen powers that govern the earth and the rising authority of those sent by heaven. This is not symbolic. It is real. The Spirit of God is confronting principalities that have used politics as disguise. They have infiltrated ideologies, economies, and belief systems to sustain control through fear. But the decree has been issued. Their time has expired. The light of truth has entered the structures of deception, and what once hid behind power will now be brought to open shame. This is why confusion reigns in the world, because darkness is losing its throne. The manipulative voices that once shaped nations are being silenced by divine interference. Those who served lies now find their influence evaporating like mist under sunlight. The earth itself is rejecting false authority. Nature rebels against injustice. Systems collapse when righteousness is absent. The tremors you feel in governments and markets are not accidents. They are manifestations of heaven's correction. Every imbalance is being exposed, and the Spirit of truth is reclaiming territories long surrendered to deception. Chosen one, your presence is part of that reclamation. You carry light that destabilizes control. Every room you enter becomes a battleground between truth and illusion, and heaven always wins through you. Look deeper. The Spirit reveals that the weapons of this war are not physical, but psychological and spiritual. The enemy's last defense is narrative. Control has always been sustained by perception, by keeping people blind to their authority in God. That is why propaganda multiplies, why confusion is celebrated, and why moral clarity is mocked. Yet this is the hour when revelation will dismantle deception. When truth is spoken with divine authority, it cuts through every veil. That is your weapon. Your voice, sanctified by heaven, is not opinion. It is decree. When you speak from alignment, governments shift, atmospheres change, and destinies are redefined. You were not called to shout. You were called to legislate. The words that leave your mouth, shaped by the Spirit, carry the same power that once spoke worlds into being. The Spirit of the Lord recalls the story in Éxodo, capítulo 5, versículo 1, when Moses stood before Pharaoh and said, "Thus says the Lord God of Israel, let my people go." It was not a request, it was a confrontation of thrones. Pharaoh represented control, but Moses represented covenant. That same confrontation is happening again, not between two men, but between two systems, divine order and human domination. You, chosen one, carry the mantle of Moses, not to argue with kings, but to release decrees that break bondage. The modern pharaohs are not individuals, but structures, systems of thought, economies of fear, and hierarchies of oppression. Yet the Spirit declares that the same power that split the sea still splits systems today. Freedom is not coming someday. It is being announced through you now. The Spirit says, I am shaking the foundations of every throne that exalts itself above my name. The control that held nations captive is losing power. The chains that limited progress are disintegrating. The manipulation that distorted truth is unraveling before divine fire. You will watch institutions tremble, but you must not fear. This shaking is not against you, it is for you. Heaven is making room for the rulers it has chosen. The ground must be cleared for new governance, and the false must fall before the true can stand. This is why the pressure increased in your life, not as punishment, but as preparation. You were born for the confrontation, crafted for the shaking, anointed for the rebuild. The Spirit exposes the modern faces of Pharaoh, greed disguised as economy, propaganda disguised as truth, and fear disguised as protection. These are the pillars of the false government that heaven is dismantling. Yet the chosen rise unafraid because their allegiance is not to the systems of man, but to the throne of God. The rulers of this age operate through coercion. The rulers of heaven operate through conviction. And when divine conviction enters a generation, control loses its grip. You are that generation's answer, chosen one, an ambassador of freedom, not rebellion, of wisdom, not chaos. Where others see tyranny, you will see opportunity for restoration. Now, hear this decree from heaven. The season of submission to false order is over. The Spirit is reclaiming every realm that once served fear. Authority is shifting from the arrogant to the anointed. Power is returning to purity. Influence is being reassigned from the deceptive to the discerning. This is the moment creation has been waiting for. The manifestation of the sons and daughters of divine government. You are that manifestation. Rise with reverence, speak with authority, and move with clarity. For the confrontation is ending, and the coronation has begun. Heaven has issued a decree, chosen one. This is not just another season. It is a divine transfer of authority. The Spirit of the Lord announces over you, I am restoring the mantle of governance to my people. This restoration is not symbolic, but functional. It is the return of real influence, real strategy, real access to places of decision. You have felt like an outsider looking in, but heaven calls you an insider of purpose. Every training, every trial, every secret prayer has prepared you for this moment. Authority is not coming from elections or endorsements. It is being conferred by heaven's hand. As the old systems collapse, a new breed of rulers is rising, not defined by titles, but by truth, not elevated by manipulation, but by purity. You are among them. This decree is your confirmation. God is transferring influence, resources, and access to those aligned with His purpose. Everything that was stolen from you in the past seasons is now returning in a different form. Not as compensation, but as commission. Heaven funds assignments, not lifestyles. You are about to receive what you need to build what you were born to build. This is not a call to comfort, but a call to construct. The Spirit says, I am entrusting you with territory. Territory can be political, cultural, economic, or digital. Every realm where decisions shape destinies. The keys are being handed to those who will not lock doors, but open gates for righteousness to enter. Chosen one, prepare your hands for stewardship and your heart for strategy. The divine transfer is not just external, it is internal. Before heaven changes your environment, it changes your mindset. That is why you have been in a season of mental renewal. Old narratives are being uprooted, replaced by heaven's perspective. You are learning to think like a legislator, not a laborer. You are shifting from survival to stewardship, from defense to dominion. This is how true government begins, within. As you govern your thoughts, your words, and your actions under the Spirit's direction, you become qualified to govern spheres outside yourself. The Spirit declares, "What I am doing in you is the pattern for what I will do through you." If this message is awakening something inside you, pay attention. Just like David was prepared in the hidden place before leading, and Nehemiah received vision before rebuilding, you also need prosperity to fulfill your calling. That's why I created the Manual of God's Chosen Warrior, a 10-step guide to break scarcity and walk in divine abundance, both spiritual and financial. The link is in the description and the first pinned comment. Click there and take the next step toward the prosperity God prepared for you. Chosen one, this is the era of leadership by revelation. No longer will strategies birthed in human wisdom be enough to govern complex times. Heaven is releasing blueprints, solutions, policies, innovations, directly into the minds of those who walk in alignment. This is what it means to be a prophetic ruler, to govern with discernment spiritual enough to hear heaven and practical enough to implement it on earth. The Spirit says, I am giving you language to influence kings and compassion to serve people. You are a bridge between realms, a living answer to prayers that nations have not yet spoken. The inversion has begun. Control will be replaced by direction. Fear will be replaced by wisdom. Dependency will be replaced by stewardship. The earth will learn the difference between power and authority, and you will model it. Power can be seized, authority can only be given. Heaven is giving you authority. This is not arrogance, it is assignment. The Spirit calls you to step into places that once intimidated you and speak with the quiet force of someone who carries a higher mandate. Remember, when you enter a room as one sent by God, you do not compete with the noise. You carry the atmosphere of the throne. Heaven is training you to legislate in the invisible before you govern in the visible. This is why prayer feels different now. Less like requests and more like decrees. Your words in private shape outcomes in public. You are being trusted with spiritual jurisdiction, and soon you will see its effects in natural systems. This is the same pattern Daniel carried, interpreting dreams of kings, shifting policies of empires, and yet remaining a servant of the Most High. Chosen one, do not underestimate the weight of your intercession. Every time you pray from alignment, laws begin to bend toward righteousness. Daniel, capítulo 2, versículo 21, declares that God changes times and seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. This is happening now, not metaphorically, but literally. Leaders are falling, seats are emptying, and heaven is looking for those prepared in secret to fill them. You are not just praying for change, you are being positioned as part of the change. This is why the Spirit has been stripping you of distraction and sharpening your discernment. He is not only preparing you to survive a transition, but to administrate one. The next time you see a door open where none existed, remember, it is not a chance, it is an assignment. Chosen one, this movement of heaven is not distant or abstract. It is unfolding now, within and around you. The Spirit of God is placing you exactly where you must be, to influence exactly what you are called to transform. Every skill, every connection, every insight you have gathered is being orchestrated into a divine pattern. You will see sudden alignments, meetings you did not plan, opportunities you did not pursue, doors you did not knock on. This is not luck, it is heaven's placement. The Spirit whispers, I am weaving your steps into the fabric of nations. What you once considered small will prove to be strategic. You are part of a quiet revolution of righteousness, reforming not by force, but by the invisible weight of divine authority resting on you. This is why the Spirit emphasizes positioning over promotion. Many seek platforms. Heaven seeks pillars. Platforms shift, but pillars support. God is making you a pillar in the place where He assigns you. Your consistency will outlast chaos. Your integrity will outshine corruption. The power you carry is not to impress, but to establish. Heaven's authority is being revealed through ordinary vessels who are extraordinary in alignment. You may not see a crown on your head, but the atmosphere will recognize the weight of your presence. This is the new government of God, decentralized, unstoppable, woven through awakened individuals who serve without compromise. Every area of influence, politics, business, education, media, is being infiltrated by this quiet army of prophetic rulers. They do not shout slogans, they shift policies. They do not crave applause, they carry answers. You are part of that infiltration. You are not being sent to overthrow, but to outlast. The false systems will collapse under their own weight. Your task is to build what endures. The Spirit says, build foundations, not monuments. Establish principles, not personalities. Govern with humility. Legislate with light. This is the kingdom in motion through you. This restoration is silent but irresistible. God does not need the permission of man to establish His order. Even now, the Spirit is constructing a network of influence beneath the surface, ready to rise as old structures fall. When the dust settles, righteousness will have infrastructure, and those who have been faithful in secret will stand in public authority. Chosen one, you are being called to be both voice and vessel, to speak heaven's decrees and to host heaven's solutions. This is not an event, it is a process you are already living. Understand this, prosperity and influence are not rewards. They are tools, they are weapons of restoration. Heaven equips before it sends. You are being resourced not for display, but for deployment. The wealth, the insight, the access that is coming into your life are not for your comfort first. They are for the mission. As Joseph stored grain for nations, so you will steward resources for purposes bigger than yourself. This is why God has been purifying your motives. A pure heart can hold great authority without corruption. This is your preparation for governmental assignment. Chosen one, heaven calls you now to shift your self-perception. You are not a spectator of these changes. You are a participant. You are not on the sidelines of history. You are being written into its center. The Spirit says, stop seeing yourself as hidden and start seeing yourself as positioned. You are a strategist of the kingdom disguised as an ordinary person. Every decision you make carries weight in the unseen. Every act of obedience sets new lines of influence in motion. This is not small, it is seismic. This is the moment when the prophetic becomes practical. The decrees you make in prayer must now translate into action in your sphere. Your insights must become initiatives. Your discernment must become decisions. Heaven is calling you to step into your assignment fully, not half-heartedly, not timidly. The government of God advances through decisive sons and daughters who know who they are. You were never meant to live under government control. You were meant to be an expression of divine government. Rise now and begin to act like it. Chosen one, lean closer now. The Spirit of God speaks directly to your heart. Everything you have heard until now was about the larger picture. But this is about you. You have not been overlooked. You have been hidden for training. The isolation you called loneliness was heaven's classroom. The disappointments you called delays were heaven's tests. The closed doors you saw as rejection were heaven's redirection. Every tear watered the soil of your destiny. You were not being broken down. You were being built for a weight of authority that few can carry. The Spirit whispers, "Do not despise your preparation, for it has preserved your purity and sharpened your discernment." This is the hour where all that preparation turns into assignment. The battles you fought were not random. Each one stripped from you a reliance on something that could not sustain your calling. You learned to stand when no one applauded. You learned to hear God's voice when others were silent. You learned to act on faith when evidence was invisible. These were not small lessons, they were the infrastructure of your leadership. The Spirit says, "I have taught you to govern yourself so you can govern spheres." You are not being released into power as a novice, but as one seasoned in secret. You have authority over storms because you have walked through storms without surrender. This is why the enemy fought your identity. Because once you know who you are, you cannot be controlled. Now, the time of hiding is ending. The Spirit is calling you out of the background into visibility. This does not mean celebrity, it means responsibility. Heaven does not reveal vessels to be admired, but to be deployed. You will feel doors opening that no man can close. You will sense unusual favor in rooms that once felt closed to you. This is not coincidence. It is commission. The mantle you carry will attract assignments bigger than your experience, but perfectly matched to your preparation. You will not have to promote yourself. Your obedience will promote you. This is the mark of a true ruler under God's government. Chosen one, the Spirit urges you, speak now with the voice of one sent. Stop waiting for permission from systems that no longer have authority over you. Begin to implement the ideas heaven has shown you. Begin to build what you have been sketching in silence. Begin to speak what you have been rehearsing in prayer. The world is starved for leaders who legislate from wisdom, not ego. You are one of those leaders. Heaven has already endorsed you. You do not need a title to start walking in your assignment. Start where you are, with what you have, and heaven will multiply it. This is your commissioning. You are not just an observer of government. You are a participant in divine governance. When you enter a boardroom, a council, a classroom, a marketplace, you carry the atmosphere of heaven's throne. Your decisions are decrees. Your presence is a shift. You have been sent to turn chaos into order, scarcity into stewardship, confusion into clarity. This is why your heart beats faster when you see injustice. It is heaven's signal that you are called to address it. The Spirit says, "Wherever you stand, my government stands with you." Do not underestimate the small steps. A true ruler begins with inner territory before outer territory. Govern your speech, your thoughts, your time, your relationships under the Spirit's direction. These disciplines are not restrictions, they are training for dominion. As you bring your personal world into alignment, the authority to govern larger worlds will flow naturally. This is how Joseph managed a prison before he managed a nation. This is how Daniel mastered prayer before he mastered policy. This is how you will move from private preparation to public impact. Chosen one, rise now with quiet confidence. Heaven's government is not waiting for tomorrow. It is manifesting through you today. As you make decisions this week, act as one carrying divine authority. As you speak, choose words that build what you want to see. As you plan, prepare for influence you have not yet tasted. The Spirit says, "I have set you as a legislator of light. Where you go, my kingdom follows." This is your time to step forward, not by force, but by fulfillment. Every system that once resisted you will soon recognize you. You are not a rebel. You are a ruler under divine command. Chosen one, this is the moment where all the pieces converge. You have heard the revelation, you have felt the call, and now the Spirit brings everything into focus. What began as a hidden stirring inside you has unfolded into a public assignment. This journey has taken you from oppression to awakening, from silence to voice, from control to authority. This is not a motivational arc. It is the trajectory of heaven shaping a ruler. The Spirit of God declares, "I have brought you this far to release you fully." This is the time to rise, not as a reaction to the systems of man, but as the manifestation of God's government in the earth. Everything you have witnessed, the exposure of corruption, the crumbling of institutions, the shaking of leaders, was heaven making space for you and others like you. This is why you felt restless. You were being summoned for a new era. The dismantling you see outside is mirrored by the establishment of something new inside. God has been writing laws on your heart that will one day shape laws in your world. He has been teaching you wisdom in private that will soon guide policy in public. This is your calling, to govern with righteousness, to legislate with light, to build with humility. Chosen one, understand that this restoration of authority is not a reward. It is a responsibility. Heaven entrusts influence to those who will serve, not dominate. You have been tested so that your motives are pure. You have been refined so that your hands are steady. You have been instructed so that your mind is clear. Now the Spirit says, "Go and lead." This leadership may begin quietly, a decision at work, a project in your community, an initiative in your sphere, but it carries the DNA of heaven. Every obedient step multiplies your jurisdiction. The Spirit gives you one final insight. The government of God begins in self-governance. If you can master your own heart under the Spirit's guidance, You can shape environments, institutions, even nations. True power is never seized, it is stewarded. True authority is never demanded, it is demonstrated. Begin each day aligning yourself to heaven's voice, and you will find yourself walking naturally in influence that others chase. This is how the invisible kingdom becomes visible, through one chosen one, living fully under divine command. Before we close, if you've made it this far, I already know something about you. You're serious about your calling. Don't let that fire fade after this video ends. The Manual of God's Chosen Warrior is there to help you keep walking, to stay grounded, strong, and prosperous as you grow into the leader God's shaping you to be. The link's in the description and in the first pinned comment. Go take a look and keep moving forward. The world needs the kind of leader you're becoming. Now, as an act of faith and alignment, declare in the comments, "Divine authority is restored." This is more than engagement. It is agreement. Like this video and subscribe to this channel as a prophetic gesture of standing with what heaven is releasing. For those who have supported this mission through Buy Me a Coffee, thank you. Your seed fuels the spread of these revelations. If you feel led, join that support as an act of partnership with what God is doing here. The link is also below. Chosen One, I bless you now. I decree over you wisdom to govern, clarity to decide, and courage to act. May every system that once resisted you recognize the authority of heaven upon your life. May your steps be ordered into places of influence. May your hands build what endures, and your words establish what heaven desires on earth. Go forward in the government of God. You were never meant to live under government control. You were meant to embody divine government. Your time has come. Rise and rule under His command.